What's going on, guys? So, I actually bought a new mic. I'm sure you guys can tell that the audio on this is a lot better than the other ones. I was messing around with it, so I appreciate all the support on the channel so far. I just kind of wanted to get into the ideology of success and how it's not linear and it's not at all about money. And I kind of want to rephrase that. Like, yes, it is a byproduct. And yes, running and operating a business and being successful does have to do with money. But I think a lot of people get the whole concept in itself a little bit mixed up. And when I say that, I mean, like, for example, getting a six pack isn't just about like looking like you have a six pack. There's a lot of things that go into it when it comes to like discipline and diet and exercise, and there's so many things behind the scenes that go into working on your body and fixing it that a lot of people really don't take into account. And I know that a lot of people say that rich people say success isn't about money and it's not about wealth. And I know by means am the richest person and I have very little at this moment in time due to a lot of different circumstances. But that doesn't have to do with anything. It has to do with the way you perceive success. So, I know a lot of people in my life who do have lots of money, and if you talk to them, they're very egotistical, and that's the only thing that really gives them a sense of value. Like if you have a conversation with some of the people that I'm giving, for example, they only talk about the things that they're buying, and they only talk about spending money. And to them, spending money means that they're successful. And in my personal opinion, that is not at all what being successful means. Now I know that some of you guys like might disagree with that, but from my experience and all the people that I've met over my lifetime and in my career, the people with the most success, at least from my point of view, are the people who got an education, they make a decent amount of money, enough to buy a house, at least buying a house when it was good to buy a house. The housing market is completely trash. But, they bought a house, they have an amazing wife that they take care of. She could work too. I have nothing against stay at home moms or anything like that. But I want to get back to the point. And the point that I was trying to make is these people who, they have a family, they have a house, they have a decent job, they have things paid off and they don't really worry about money. And granted, they're not buying like extremely luxury goods, but in my personal opinion, that doesn't equal success either. But that's a whole different topic in itself. What I'm saying is these people who live a good life and they don't have to stress about money, even though they don't have the most in comparison to, what people would consider rich. Like these people are the most successful. Like they have time to spend with their kids. They have time to, pick up hobbies with their friends. They have the luxury to do these things. And in my personal opinion, and I think I've met a good amount of people who have a lot of money, and I've seen both sides. Like I said, I've seen the people who are, extremely materialistic, and that's all that they care about is like buying the next thing. And then I've also met people who are really simple and they just save their money and they live a simple life. And I don't know about you, but in my personal opinion, those people are the most successful. They can spend time with their kids, they can spend time with their family. They don't have to worry about like doctor's bills. I mean, yeah, you could be stressed about like medical issues, but in terms of paying for the treatment and actually worrying about bills, they don't do that because they know that they've lived a meaningful, simple life that they're just not blowing all their money on like the nicest cars or the nicest jewelry or anything like that. And these people value, memories and time with family, and they also value taking vacations way more than buying things. And I could 100% agree with that. Like, if I had the option of, buying something materialistic that I've always wanted, but it's not necessary, as opposed to, taking a vacation with my family and making memories and always, like when I was a kid, and my parents used to take me on vacations, or like I used to go to Disneyland a lot with my godfather when I was younger. And to me, I remember all of those trips. And like off topic, but like when I was a kid, I didn't think you were allowed to take your phone into Disneyland because I don't know what for what reason, I have no clue. But I just always thought that like, oh, like Disneyland is like a no phone zone. I think that's just kind of like what I grew up, like what my parents told me growing up. Like the movie theaters too, for example. I always thought the movie theaters were like a no phone zone, which is like funny to think about now. But yeah, like I don't know. Growing up, that's just like what my parents instilled in me. They were like, "Oh no, like no electronics, like no distractions. If you're gonna pay for the movies, you're gonna sit down and watch the movie. If you're gonna pay for a vacation, you're gonna enjoy the vacation and be present in the moment." So when it comes to success, I think that that form of a life and like lifestyle with your kids and with your family is the highest form of success that you can reach. Like my parents didn't have the luxury to spend a lot of time with, me. I was the firstborn son, and they were, undereducated and underpaid in their jobs, and that's a tough lifestyle to live as a parent. And I would hope that when I start having kids, I have somewhat of a luxury to, spend more time and not have to overwork myself just to get by. But that in itself, like having kids and spending time with them, and like to me, the value of family outweighs the value of anything that you could ever purchase. Because I have such a large family, we've always been taught that that's the most important thing ever. Like you're not going to get your family back. You could always buy more things. You can always work more to get nicer things, but at the end of the day, like if you're overworking yourself to purchase something that is so like trivial, you're not going to have a body and a good life because, you can't do things. Like you're physically unable to do things, whether you have like back or injuries, or, you develop a disease. Like I've known people who have gotten like injured on the job, or they've like developed some form of medical issues, whether it be like pesticides on the farm site, or anything like that, like any sort of chemicals. Like that's it happens all the time. I've known people who have had issues because of work, because that's all they do, and they just don't spend time with their family. And I know a lot of people also who, really regret working so much because they weren't there to be with their parents in their last few years of life. And when I hear those things, like that like really wakes me up, and that's extremely sad. Like I don't ever want to have to go through that. And once I start having kids, I don't want that to happen for my kids as well. But yeah, that's just like a pretty, simple way of putting it. Like it's not at all about money. It is about money because that's how you pay for things, but there's a certain level of the amount of money that you acquire that it just doesn't make sense anymore. And I'm not saying like, oh, stop, making money at a certain point. But what I'm saying is like some people value money so much so that they think that they're paying for stuff for their kids, and that's, okay. Like for example, like iPad kids, like the parents, I literally know people from high school who do this, where it's like I pay the bills and I bought them an iPad and I'm giving them a better life than I had, but they don't spend quality time with them, with their kids, and they think that that is okay. Like they think that that is they're successful because they have more material things than they did when they had growing up. And like I think that's completely absurd. I think that's the complete opposite of what it actually is and what it should be. Like yeah, like anybody can buy you things, but nobody's going to be there to, spend time with you in, sports or, help you with your homework. Like, I think that's what parents are for. And I think that life is more geared towards being fulfilled with emotion as opposed to material items. And a quick note on like the journey of being successful and an entrepreneur. I think a lot of people have this really like insane out of touch idea that like it's like overnight. um, I was pretty successful in my barber career, and people just think that magically one day you just know how to talk to people, and all of a sudden, you have all these clients, and dude, it's not at all that, not at all the case. It takes a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of dedication, but when I say that, I'm talking more like career success as opposed to like emotional, living a good life success. So that's my 2 cents on why success is so much more important than money, because family and memories are 10 times more valuable.